Okay, today we're going to review the Swedish M35 short rifle. This particular one, even though the Swedish military did not give a designation, they're just all M35 short rifles to them. This is a Type 1, and it's something collectors refer to what it is. It was a long rifle. It has been shortened and converted into a M38 rifle. But first I'll tell you the story of how I come across this piece. I was at a local gun show I set up. I had a table, and usually Saturday morning there's a 2-hour period for the general public comes in, and this is when the dealer frenzy goes on where everyone runs around, and if you find a buy you grab it for the people come in. Well, there's the whole assortment of dealers. I know them. I've known them over the years. I've gotten to know the local people. There's one guy that he does military surplus stuff, big. I mean, he has 50 rifles and pistols and stuff when he shows up. And he buys estates and that, and he actually goes out. He says he's a collector, but he's running more or less a business, okay, because it's a lot of volume, and he puts down a lot of money, and then he takes in a lot of money. So, and then he goes just about every gun show, in this region of the state. So he does a lot of traveling. Something I'm not. It's still more of a hobby to me than a money-making business. But so he was running around, and then there's this other older couple that have they're at most of the local shows, and he's just got a whole slew of guns with a piece of masking tape on the stock with the price on it. He's another one. He's got about 100 weapons out there, mostly long guns, shotguns, this, and every now and again he'll have a military gun. So in this pile of lever action rifles and shotguns and assorted 22s and that, I find this Swedish rifle stacked in there. And I have a long one which is in pretty nice shape, which by the way I bought from the other dealer because he had several rifles there. So I found this one and I asked the guy, what do you want for it? He didn't have his masking type price tag on it. So he goes, give me $350. And actually the gun looked, not cared for, put it that way. And I was trying to look down the bore. And with my shaking hand and everything and trying to get the bore light on the little thing up in there, I just had a hard time. So I set the gun back down, thought about it, and then my other dealer buddy come over and goes, did you buy it? Did you buy it? He goes, if I was you, I'd buy that. He goes, you can, at that, he goes, how much do you want for it? I said, $350. He goes, well, you can make money on it. He goes, So I went down there, tried to look at the bore again. I really couldn't see what was going on, but I bought the gun anyway. And one of the reasons why is the rear sight and some other features about this rifle were different. So I get the gun back to my table and get the bolt out and safety lock it, and finally get somebody to hold the gun steady so I can look down and the bore is like a rust, just all rusted out. Now I'm like, shit. So I put a price tag on it, threw it on the table, had about 10 people look at it. One person even came with little gauge pins and measured the bore and shook his head and walked off. So when I came home, I went and ran a brush and some penetrating oil through it, knocked the rust out. A lot of rust did come out. But actually, I just ran the bore scope down it. It looks pretty good, even for being rusted. I mean, the rust did not really dig in. There's some spots where there's very, very light pitting. But truthfully, the steel looks solid and unblemished. I don't know what kind of steel they used in these guns, but it was in still pretty good shape. Okay, so now we'll go take a closer look at this rifle, and I'll tell you the things about it that actually it's And all in all, it wasn't a bad deal after all, because it's kind of an unusual gun. Okay, first thing. The reason we know it is a Type 1 is this particular rifle was made by Mauser in Germany. Was a long rifle made in 1900. Okay, then it was converted over to the short M38 configuration. Now most Type 1s, which were converted from the long version to the short, have a straight bolt handle, kind of as a rule of thumb. This one does not. It has a bent bolt handle, which is unusual for that. The Type 2 short rifle will be a purpose-built short rifle. That's how the collectors designate the two, and usually that always has a bent bolt handle. But very few of the long rifles converted have the bent bolt handle, and this does. And this rifle is all matching, with the exception, because I've taken it apart, of the magazine floor plate. Probably the follower in that too. But somehow that was replaced. Now another unusual feature is the rear sight, which has this, and I know I'm going to pronounce it wrong, it is the Metalworking Vasteras rear sight. And how this differs from the normal leaf sight is you rotate this dial, and you see there's a half notch there, or a notch without a number. It's supposedly 200 meters. And then the little dots in between, you'd rotate so that little dot would line up. Try to do that like this. And that would be 250 meters. And basically what this is, it's the standard rear sight. And when you rotate that dial, that little set screw there moves out. Alright, how this sight works is when you rotate this dial here, and it's from 200 just to 600 meters, so it's one revolution is what it's designed for. That's where the little screw is there, and when you rotate it, oh, I'm having a hell of a time. When you rotate it, if you can see, the screw comes out here, and it's a precision elevation of your rear sight. And it's done in 50-meter increments. So that's the unusual thing about this also. Okay, and we have two barrel bands, which, you know, you depressed this locking spring or catch in, and they'll come out. This band was very difficult to remove. It's very tight. It was very hard to get this apart and get the handguard and that off. So be careful not to damage the gun. This won't come off fairly easy. Cleaning rod, and then we have the threaded, I believe it's got a threaded muzzle, but it has some sort of, I don't know if that's a rubber, plastic, or something affixed on there. But it doesn't want to come off, and I really don't need to take it off, so I'm not going to. And your sights, front sight. Finish a little worn on it. And as we come down, we have our stock and stock disc. And there was a place where a metal plate was once affixed there. Now I've seen these on other guns. The plate that was like glued onto the stock would have holdovers for this. In other words, the gun was sighted in, and there'd be information here on where to shift your point of aim for distance and something like that. So this this rifle was meant for competition shooting. It wasn't like a service rifle anymore. It was set aside and set up to where people competed in target practice with it. And like I said, stock's in fairly good shape. One little crack down there. And the disc is marked 1 in that, like a perfect bore, which it isn't. So another thing is, I know dealers and people online that'll sell you these discs, either unused, used, or whatever. So sometimes you really can't go by the disc information. And this one is a tad bit different than the other one, with some of the numerals, as on the long gun. And also, I will tie into my other video that I did my overview of the long gun. But basically, your Mauser style action, which is the 96 action, or basically a copy of the 93. So, hand does not want to cooperate today. So all of that's the same. Bolt release, same style striker, cock on the closing, and Mauser flag safety. All of this is the same deal, no different other than a bent bolt handle. Like I said, I think they're these 3 positions. Yep. Up, still opens. All the way over, locks. So same striker configuration, same thing as the Model 96. And we'll take a look at our receiver markings again. The one thing, it has this other marking on there. I don't know if that's a A/N or V, but that is the one mark. I have no idea what that is there. I tried looking for it. I can't find any information, but that is one added marking on there because this was reworked. And also on the serial number, there's a OG, I believe. Yeah, OG stamp before it. And actually, that's about it. Not much different. Now, I did a segment where I had this disassembled, and I will slip that in, and we'll take a look at the gun totally disassembled. Alright, I have the rifle disassembled here, basically to do a cleaning, check for any rust. You don't know if rust gets below the wood line, and just to give it a good examination all the way around. This rifle appears to be all matching. Every part, the serial number matches, the stock serial number matches. The only thing that does not match, which I believe is the magazine floor plate, but the actual metal trigger guard piece here does. So it's all matching except for one piece. And also, I also wanted to check and see if there were any unusual markings on the barrel, underneath, and that, which there are not. Just some acceptance, again matching numbers, and the acceptance stamps, proofs. But all in all, interesting gun. So that's what we look like disassembled, and that is a matching bolt with a bent handle. I don't know if that was bent by them. Some of these were bent. These guns that got shortened did receive a bent bolt handle. I guess the majority of them, they left the handle straight, but some of them they bent. So that's it for the disassembly look at it. And I'm going to go on with the video now. So I did that segment where I took the gun apart, and like I said, after thorough checking and looking for markings on the barrel and that, which I didn't find anything unusual or different. The only piece on this that is not original to the gun is the floor plate. And for this sight here, this type of sight I believe was used by the military. I guess they used to shoot in Olympic biathlon competitions with these rifles, and this sight here was the one type they used. Now, there is another sight. The civilians used to be able to purchase these rifles, and a lot of these guns were used for hunting in Europe. And there's another style of sight, which would be, it's different. It's not the nickel or plated, and it would just be blued, and it would have a dial, and that is calibrated and regulated from 100 meters up to 700 meters. There are different types of sights, but this was the one I believe that was used for the government and military competitions, the 200 to 600 meter sight. There are ones, and if you go and look around online, people have them. They were advertised that you could buy these rifles and put this as an aftermarket thing, this other type of sight, which is similar to this. It's a dial and works the same way, but it is regulated from 1 to 700 meters. So there are some variations on this sight, and the sights alone are worth some money. I've seen several different Swedish rifles, but this is the first one I had the opportunity to buy with that sight on there. So that's kind of why I bought it, even though the condition was questionable in that, but I believe this thing will work out. Like I said, I checked it out with the bore scope. I will put a video up where I'm working on reloading the ammo and coming up with a load for this caliber, and I did so with the long rifle. And hopefully in a week or so I'll take this out and we'll give it a try and see where these sights are at with ammunition that is the M42 ammo, I believe, 140 grain boat tail bullet, traveling at the proper velocity. So we'll give this rifle a try out. Probably we'll have another video on shooting it soon. Okay.